Come out of the darkness, through the trees. Make your way through the ominous and darkened streets, for I am expecting you. I invite you in, out of the shadows and the cold. The only way you may enter in is through the door of your mind. Join me, for I am waiting. Up the stairs and in the room to the right. Open wide the door of your imagination. Climb into your warm bed and settle in. Have you ever stumbled upon a painting that seemed so real, it seemed to draw you in? For tonight's tale takes us back to the year 1978. I call this story The Painting. The Painting. The story takes place back in the summer of 1978. This is a true account of what happened one summery night. Me and my friend Elliot were driving around downtown when he suggested that we head to a party that his friend Kristen was hosting. It was a fairly calm, warm night, so I was surprised when the radio came on announcing that a storm was rolling in. The time was around 10 p.m. As we rolled into the neighborhood, I couldn't help but notice all the large mature trees. They almost overtook the small road that we drove down towards Kristen's house. The wind began picking up as we drove down the street, pushing my car back and forth, forcing me to grip the wheel to keep it straight. When we finally arrived at Kristen's house, I sat there staring out the window of the car. I couldn't help but get the chills. The house was large and domineering. The lawn was well manicured, and although by all accounts it looked well kept, it had a strange, creepy ambiance to it. As we walked up, I stretched my hand to the doorbell. Without even getting the chance to ring it, the door swung open. Standing before us was this very petite woman dressed all in black, wearing what looked like John Lennon glasses. She looked very artsy. Elliot asked her if Kristen was home. She didn't even say a word, just looked right at me. I couldn't see her eyes through the glasses, but it felt like she was staring into my soul. Just then, she turns around, walks away without saying anything. She made her way up this darkened staircase and disappeared. Me and Elliot looked at each other and went inside. The house was dark, but we heard laughter in the distance and saw a light at the end of the hallway. The house was massive. We slowly made our way towards the light. On the walls and in the wide hallway were old war memorabilia, such as swords, helmets, armor, muskets, and one artifact that caught my eye, which was a Native American headdress. As we continued down the hallway, we passed several darkened rooms. It was super eerie from the moment we came in, and it felt as though we were being watched. When we got to the end of the hallway where the light was, we saw Kristen's dad and his friends sitting at a table playing cards and having some drinks. It's like they didn't even notice we were there or didn't care to notice. Elliot asked where Kristen was, and without even looking up, her dad just pointed to the basement door. We headed down the stairs, which were really narrow, and the ceiling was fairly low, as I recall hitting my head on it as we went down. The basement had red carpet, wood paneling, and a large rock fireplace in the center of the room. It was a very open space. Looking around, I noticed more war artifacts, and a hallway to my right. Kristen greeted us with a smile and took us to where everyone else was sitting. It looked like they'd been drinking for a while, as there was a large amount of beer cans already on the coffee table. "Do you guys want anything to drink?" Kristen asked. "No, thank you," we responded politely. We sat down and joined in the conversation, introducing ourselves to everyone. There were 3 others there, 2 boys and 1 girl. As the night continued on, one of the boys handed me a bottle of what he described as 2,000-year-old Indian berry wine. Honestly, it appeared half empty. "We've all been drinking it. Try some," he said, as he realized me and Elliot weren't drinking. I poured some in a cup, and it came out so thick and looked more like blood than wine. I gave it a smell and declined. It smelled awful. They all laughed. As I sat there, I noticed a chest in the corner by the fireplace. It looked almost like a big black pirate's chest. I walked towards the chest and asked Kristen why they had so much old stuff in the house. My dad's a professor at the university and teaches ancient history, specializing in war artifacts. He's been collecting it for years, she said. The chest had a shine to it, and it looked completely refurbished. I wondered if treasure was in there. I looked closer. As I crouched down, I noticed a plaque with engraving on it. I couldn't tell what language it was in. Kristen quickly got up and told me not to open it. Turns out the language was Latin, and said, "Beware he who opens this chest, for death awaits them." If you think that's pretty freaky, you should look down the hallway behind the shelves at the painting that's there. Now that's scary. Kristen's dad's a warlock and is into the occult, one of the boys hollered out in his drunkenness. Kristen gave her friend a scolding look as if he wasn't supposed to say anything. "It's to scare away thieves," she said. "It's no big deal." I asked her where the bathroom was, and she motioned down the same hallway where the painting was located. Coming out of the bathroom, I looked over towards where they said the painting was. I had to check this out. It was tucked off in the corner behind some large shelves that looked as though they belonged in a warehouse. As I walked around the shelves, I was startled by this huge, giant painting that was above what appeared to be an altar. There were fresh flowers on the table and there was candles. The painting I can only describe was the image of a demonic creature sitting on a throne. The head was that of a goat and the body of a man. Long fingers, long fingernails, wearing a robe. I continued staring. I couldn't stop. It was drawing me in. I felt like I couldn't move, like I was in a trance. My body felt heavy. At this point, I began praying in tongues, in a language I couldn't understand. The house started shaking violently. The winds outside began howling. It took all my strength to lift my arms as they felt like cinder blocks, and I put the symbol of a cross over the painting to attempt to take away the power. It felt as though I was there for hours in front of that painting. The demonic eyes staring at me. Then everything suddenly stopped. I was covered in sweat. I turned around and walked away as though nothing had happened. I walked back towards the group of people and they asked me what I thought of the painting. I gave a small smile and said, "It's pretty cool," feeling extremely uneasy. I asked Elliot if he wanted to see it. He started getting all nervous and wanted to leave. I wanted to secretly see if what happened to me would happen to him. What seemed like hours of me standing in front of the painting had actually only been a few minutes. We started to grab our jackets. As we were leaving, one of them asked us if we could give them a ride home. We agreed to. We said our goodbyes and made our way upstairs, down the darkened hallway, towards the door. Just as we got to the front door, the woman from earlier was coming down the stairs. She hit the bottom stair, turned, looked right at me with her very lifeless eyes, no longer wearing the glasses. It was as if she was looking right through me. With dread in her eyes, she turned around and walked back up the stairs very quickly. I couldn't get the image of the painting out of my mind. The painting in some strange way also reminded me of the woman, as though they were of the same dark spirit. We headed out the door. When we walked out the front door, the wind whipped so hard, nearly throwing us off our feet, as though someone had pushed us. The car felt like it was going to flip. The wind was so intense. As we got farther away from the house, the wind died down lower and lower, beginning to lose its power. We dropped the guy off downtown, and just as he got out of the car, the wind died completely. When we drove away, Elliot looked at me with terror in his face and asked me what the hell had happened back there. It turns out that Kristen's family was members of a coven. They practiced in the occult. They practiced many dark rituals in this house. That painting wasn't there to scare off would-be thieves. They had an altar to worship that painting and the image that was in it. This is a true account of one dark night in the summer of 1978 Remember, things aren't always as they appear. What can seem like just a painting could be that holding a very dark element. Thanks for listening, and remember, stay scared.